Hey guys, it's 12:15. It is November 3rd, 2020. It's election day, and as predicted, the markets are going crazy. Just kidding. I don't think anyone knew what the heck was going to happen today, and the markets seem to be ramping up quite a bit. I've only taken two trades today. I took one very early in the pre-market, and I missed the market open. I just wasn't available to trade or anything like that, and I just opened up Webull about maybe 20 minutes ago, I think. And that's my cat. So anyway, I just want to go over something that, this is like the crazy thing about trading is, I've got a plan, and I've been pretty good about sticking to it. Yesterday I took a trade, and I, traded my plan to the T, and it did something kind of funny that crept up in my head, and it made me trade a little different today, and I didn't even realize I was doing it while I was doing it. I didn't realize till after the fact. So it wasn't like I was blatantly trying to break my plan today, but it kind of turns out that I did, and it was all because of a trade that I took yesterday, and I kind of thought about, you know what, I should have played that a little different after the fact. So this is the trade from yesterday. I was buying for the break of this 1 minute candle, which I did, and I got filled exactly where I wanted to, which was 433. I have it on video if you want to check it out on YouTube. It was up yesterday, my pre-market trade on ANPC. So I get in for the break of this candle, and thinking that it's going to shoot up, kind of like it did here, right? It doesn't. It just kind of like chops around. It comes down below my entry, and I set my stop loss for the low of this candle, which that's all, all part of my plan. And but whenever when I try to buy in to catch a pop on the way up, and I don't see it happen right away, then I immediately start to think, okay, this, trade isn't going to work out, the way it should or the way I want it to. And what happened was whenever this thing did pop up, I sold. I think it was on this candle here. I brought my stop loss up to the bottom of this candle, and I sold on this candle, right? And then and I felt fine about that. I was like, okay, I traded my plan. It didn't pop like I thought it was going to. And I got out, for like, a 1 cent or 2 cent gain, something, ridiculously small, but not a loss. And then, I watched this chart again later, or I came back to this or something. I don't know, when I was making the video, and I saw how this thing did finally run up. And I thought to myself, well, if I would have just stayed true to my original stop loss and just let this trade play out, let it play out like everyone says, right? That's not something I normally say, but you hear everyone say, let the trade play out. And then, so I guess that and what happened here got in my head, and I was thinking, oh, well, I should have let the trade play out, and I would have had the profit that I was looking for originally. It just happened a little differently. So that was in my head. And then this morning I took a trade, let's see, this is the one, on JAKK, right? So kind of a different setup. This is like what a lot of people call a buy setup. We got this run up in the pre-market, and hit 627, and so I'm watching it for pullback. It doesn't really do like a typical pullback. It kind of does somewhat of a pullback and then consolidation. And then I noticed this wedge pattern forming. Let me back it up a little bit right before I got in. So I noticed this kind of resistance level and this wedge pattern forming. So I said, well, if it breaks that resistance, then that's a sign of strength, and maybe it'll run back up to the 627, or it should run higher because it didn't pull back that far. And that was going to be my entry whenever it broke 621. So let's go to that area. So right here it's at 620, 621. Boom, you saw me hit my hotkeys. Now I'm in exactly where I wanted to be in at 621. Now this is where things kind of went south, is I'm already thinking about that trade that I took yesterday, And what my plan says is that whatever candle I buy in, my stop loss is the low of the previous candle. So it should have been here, but I'm thinking about what happened yesterday, and I'm thinking, you know what, this isn't that much of a difference. Let me bring my stop loss down to here. Let me let the trade play out. The stupid stuff that, gets in your head when you're day trading. So that's me just kind of marking out, once this level is broken, that's where I would stop out at. And you can see, like, I'm immediately in the red of like 1 cent. This thing's not popping. So, I'm kind of thinking, all right, this might be another one that's not going to work out. Then it finally pops there, right? Look at that. It pops, but it only pops up 3 cents, right? And notice I only have 2 shares because I'm buying $15 share size, and I'm buying stocks that are under 750. That way I can at least get 2 shares, and I can practice scaling out with my hotkeys and that kind of thing, all right? So my strategy says that when I see the first pop, which is exactly what that is, and it kind of stalls out, then I sell half, right? So right there, I should have sold half. But I'm thinking about the trade that I took yesterday where, if I only would have held, if I would have been patient, if I would have let the trade play out, it'll continue to run. So I'm thinking about all that stuff, and I'm thinking that, you know what, I only have 2 shares. If I sell half, it's only 1 share, and that's only a 3 cent gain, and minus the 2 cents of selling, and that's only a 1 cent gain. And I'm thinking about, what's the point in that, and all this stupid stuff that doesn't really matter because it's not part of my plan. Right now I'm not really trying to make a lot of money, day trading. Obviously, I'm just trying to master my plan and also to collect data on the plan to prove that it works. And it seems like usually the only time it doesn't work is when I interject, my own thoughts like I did today. So I didn't sell there, and then let's see what happens. Let's see what happens by letting the trade play out. Right? Because just because something happened yesterday doesn't mean it's going to happen again today. And that I know very well. I've learned that lesson already many times. So you see this thing is just selling off. And now, it came down and it tapped my my stop, right? But which my plan, I pretty much never get out at the bottom of the candle. I marked out where the bottom was, and once that level's broken. So 615, was where I had it in my head that, okay, as soon as I see 615 on the current price, that's where I'm going to get out. And then a couple other, weird things happen here. But I did stick to my stop loss. That's one thing, I did well. That's super duper important. I didn't average down or anything stupid like that. So, I did most of the things right. But again, day trading is so unforgiving. If you do one thing wrong, you're pretty much screwed. Unless you get really lucky, and that does happen once in a while, but that's no strategy and that's not repeatable. So at this point, I'm thinking, maybe this thing is finally going to take off, like it should have over here. But I'm not, I'm not really that hopeful about it either. I'm very realistic. Let's see what does happen. I'm just keeping an eye on it, keeping cool, and I'm sticking at least to the plan that I had getting into this trade. But I just don't think it was that good of a plan. Because again, once it popped, I was supposed to sell half, according to my strategy, sell half. So I would have been left with 1 share. And then the other part of my strategy is to sell the other half as soon as it gets to break even, right? Which it did. So I would have already been done with this trade, and I think I would have been down 1 cent, which, is break even basically. It's not a big deal at all. It's basically it's a trade that would have cost me nothing. Yeah, then I pull up level 2, which is, it's not really that helpful, to be honest with you. And it wasn't, and just to look to see, where the buyers are, if this thing might pop up. And you never know, because there's hidden buyers that don't show up on level 2. And whenever I've traded on level 2, I'm not saying level 2 is terrible or whatever, but I think a lot of people use it as like a false sense of hey, I know what's going on because I'm looking at the level 2. And they make a lot of decisions based on that. And sometimes they do work out, but I think I've seen just as many where they've gone very badly. Like, it gives the trader overconfidence, and okay, there's a sell wall or a buy wall here, and as soon as that's broken, it's going to pop, or it's going to keep it from flushing down. And exactly the opposite of what the level 2 tells them is going to happen is what happens. So anyway. So let's see. I'm almost done with this trade here. So yeah, it comes down, it taps that again, right? And then it starts to pop up. So this thing kind of keeps teasing me. Then now this is what happens that was kind of weird. I don't know if you noticed that, but originally when this candle formed, the bottom of the candle was at 616, right? And then notice as this plays out, look at that. It popped a little wick down where my stop loss is, but I never saw 615 over here, right? And that was what my plan was, is as soon as I see 615, I'm going to get out. So then I'm like, uh-oh, is this going to be one of these weird, chart things or Weeble things or whatever? So now I'm just getting ready to get out, because as soon as I see 615, I'm out. And then you just watch what happens. It's almost there, and I don't want to go over it because it's important. So we're at 616. Orders are still coming in at that level. Yeah, I forgot how much this dragged on. Okay, now look at this. Look at the time in sales. A 610 order came in. It still says 616 over here, but I noticed on the 5-minute chart, 610 popped up. So it blew right past, I never got a chance to get out at 615, even though if you look over here, this all happened within the same second, right? There's some 615 orders. It never showed up, at least on the 1-minute chart, and it goes right down to 610. But this still says 16. So, in the moment, I'm trying to think, okay, which one is right? And the 1-minute chart, it does weird things sometimes on Weeble, especially during halts. Like, I don't normally see it happen over here, so I'm a little bit confused at this point. But I'm thinking, it's probably, the price is probably 610, and it just shot right past where my stop is, and let me just get out. And once I kind of put 2 and 2 together, I just tried to reset the chart just to see if I could get the 610 to pop up there. But I went ahead and sold right there. And got filled at 611. So anyway, that was a weird trade for me, because, like I said, I think that the idea of where I wanted to get in was okay, but the whole psychology that crept up in my head from the trade from yesterday really screwed that trade up, because it would have been basically a break-even trade. Wouldn't have cost me anything, and instead I lost like 20 cents on it, which in the grand scheme of things, that's nothing. But I'm trying to collect data based on a specific strategy, but when you change the strategy, even by one element, it screws up your data. So now I've got this trade in here that doesn't really fit the strategy that I trade. So that's why I put it in gold, just to differentiate it. And I got to change this because it's obviously not, it's like 66% for the week. because of this loss, my second trade, which I'm going to go over in another video because this one's already getting kind of long. But that was like a 22-cent loss, and then my second trade today, unfortunately, was also a loss, and was kind of similar but different. So I'm going to go over that one too, and yeah, that's it for this video. I hope it helps. Let me know what you think about that trade. Obviously, like, I'm not happy about it because I didn't really trade it as my strategy, and I you know, like I said, I was affected by that trade that I took yesterday, which I shouldn't be, you know, but in the moment I didn't realize kind of what was going on. It was, in hindsight, it's more obvious. I did add a note for that. Yeah, Sarah, never deviate from this strategy that I'm trading. Always sell half at the first pop and the rest at break even once you're in the green, even if it still results in a break even or a small loss. I think that got, yeah, chopped out, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about. That would have been much better than this 22-cent loss. So, all right, that's it for this video, and I'm going to make another one right now with my second trade.